I'd like to answer a question that Andrea sent in to me on my Ask Neil a Bird question on my website. Thanks, Andrea, for sending that question in. Her question was, she's been out bird watching and she seems to have seen less birds in the last few months than perhaps she did last year when she was out bird watching. And she wants to know what sorts of conditions are better for watching birds, particularly in a bushland, at different times of the year. Currently, I'm filming this story in autumn. Birds are not breeding in autumn in Australia, largely, and so they're not calling as much. So if you go into the bush in autumn or winter, most Australian bush birds are not calling at this time of the year, so you have to see them to be able to get onto them. And as we know, much of our bird watching is done by giving us clues of calls before we even see the bird. So you're less likely to be able to hear the birds and there's less calling happening. Once we get into spring and the birds are calling more, it's easier to then track them down. The males will be displaying and doing calls from high perches often, and you'll get onto them easier. So Andrew, you're absolutely right. The time of the year can make a difference in terms of your ability to track down birds. There is just one extra thing I'd mention though, and that is in the winter months, sometimes in the Australian bush and in bushland in other parts of the world, when birds aren't breeding, they'll gather together in what's known as non-breeding flocks. And there might be a couple of robins and a thrush and a wren and some thornbills all travelling together because they're not in a territory. And they're using one another to disturb insects in the bush. So if you're walking along a track and you don't see any birds for a kilometre or two or three, and then you see a couple together, stick with those birds because that's the little patch that's formed in that area. And you may well see half a dozen different species in that group as they move through the bush together. So winter flocks are often a good way of tracking down birds that otherwise might not be singing. And of course, even when they are singing, conditions like windy weather will make it harder for you to track down a bird, especially those with the lighter calls, which you might not hear at a distance. So preferably go out in the mornings, preferably go out when it's not too windy, and in the springtime you're more likely to hear calling birds and perhaps be more effective. And of course you've also have a lot of the migrant species, wherever you happen to be, will have come back at that time of the year as well. So thanks, Andrea, for that question. And please, if you do have any questions about birding or bird watching or birds, please send it through to my Ask Neil page. Thank you. Hi, I hope you've just enjoyed watching that YouTube clip that I've produced. If you do like the clips that I'm doing, please do hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel and share my material with some of your friends. That would be great. I'm sure you know many people that would also enjoy hearing about birds from around the world on my YouTube channel. Thank you.